Welcome along to Aston Villa from the stands. Hope you're all well. If you are watching this, then make sure to smash a like and, of course, subscribe to the channel and get in the comment section as well about the three topics that we're discussing today. That is, of course, Ollie Watkins has got himself in the team of the year. A very prestigious and great achievement by our man, Ollie Watkins. Number two is that Alex Moreno seems to look like he is going to be leaving Aston Villa, and he has landed a loan deal at Nottingham Forest, in which that will be having a medical tomorrow morning, and we'll see the end of Alex Moreno, it seems. And number three is, of course, the interesting one, Samuel Iling-Jr., who only just joined Aston Villa as part of the Douglas Luiz deal, could be looking to get a loan move out of the club before the transfer window ends. And that, again, is something that we will be discussing in a bit more detail. So big up to everyone if you are in here right now. Welcome aboard to Aston Villa from the stands as usual. And if you are watching on replay, then please share your thoughts on this as well. So welcome in those of you who are here ready to rock and roll. James Meakin, the first light, as always. Love to see it. I've got a little bit of indigestion, actually. I have just scoffed down a egg Mary sandwich and a cup of coffee, and I'm just finding a bit of indigestion right now, but we're going to carry on. But here we go. Right, first story then is Aston Villa's one and only Mr. One and Only Ollie Watkins. There he is, people. He is as proud and as happy as ever, as he has, of course, claimed the PFA Player of the Year in terms of the Team of the Year. He's got into the lineup. He's made himself known last season for his absolute fine form of fame that we have seen. And for me, Ollie Watkins absolutely deserves this. And it's been a while. It's been a while since we have seen an Aston Villa player be named in the Team of the Year. So happy days for Ollie Watkins, as you can see there. And listen, this was actually the Team of the Year. And I want to quickly discuss this with you. What are your thoughts on this Team of the Year? Do let me know on that. Big up to James Meakin and Captain Hindsight who have joined us today. Welcome into everyone who's in the chat. As I said, make sure you smash the like button and, of course, get in the comment section. And, of course, Captain, we have got Deji lined up on Thursday, I believe. He's got to hear the heat. He's got to hear what's going on in terms of Tottenham's awful start to the season. But let's go through this Team of the Year then. I want to know your thoughts on this one. David Raya, Saliba, Van Dijk, Gabriel Magalhaes and Kyle Walker make up the defensive unit there. I am absolutely surprised that David Raya has flown into that. I can see a place for Saliba and Magalhaes. Van Dijk, for me, is a really interesting one, and I want to know your thoughts on that, how Virgil van Dijk has managed to get into that Team of the Year. And, of course, Kyle Walker, probably a respectable one. Rodri and Rice get the midfield with Odegaard, with Haaland, Foden and Watkins. Now, I cannot argue with the idea and concept of Haaland and Foden in that front line. So when you look at those caliber of players, and when you look at who Ollie Watkins is amongst, it is a very prestigious award to get into the Team of the Year at the PFA Awards, which, of course, by the way, is voted for by the players. And I'm just going to come out of that a second and remind you guys that, as I said, PFA Association Awards are everything that is voted for by the players. So for Ollie Watkins to get the credentials and respect that he has had amongst his fellow pros is something that I think is really respectful, really good for him, and of course something that we should be celebrating. So Ollie was suited and booted at the event tonight, and do you know what? It's an interesting one. But yeah, let's just go back to that. And again, some surprise inclusions for me are probably the following. And big up to Krim, who's in here. And of course, Vian as well, who's in here as well. Who said, James has also said, if the team doesn't have consummatos, I don't like it. Very true. I mean, look, David Raya, for me, I don't know if he was the standout goalkeeper of last year, but interesting that the players have gone. Then maybe it was that the fact he went from Brentford to Arsenal, a bigger step up, did fairly well. But I wouldn't say he was the outstanding best goalkeeper choice. And I do, hand on heart, believe that Emi Martinez would have been the better shout on that, and I genuinely do. The other one for me, as already mentioned, is I'm still not sure on Virgil van Dijk in at centre-half. And I'm not sure, as you said, on Martin Odegaard. The fact that Cole Palmer hasn't been in this side, as Krim has said, is interesting. But look, no Manchester United players in that side. No Chelsea players in that side. No Tottenham players in that side. It is literally Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City, and Aston Villa. But there we go. There we go. But yeah, Palmer should be there, and I'll probably swap out Martin Odegaard as my choice for that. But Haaland and Foden definitely should be in that side. And as I said, it's massive respect that Ollie Watkins can get in this team and get in amongst it. So yeah, fair play. They have finally been recognised by their fellow pros, and I massively, massively respect that indeed. And let's just quickly remind ourselves. Of course, Ollie's already started the season, but let's just remind ourselves of Ollie Watkins' first involvement and what he's done this season. And we've got the following: 19 goals and 13 assists from Ollie Watkins. Have a look at this one. Have a look at this one. Ollie Watkins, 19 goals, 13 assists, and what a year that was. What a year that was. And I want to say, do you think Ollie Watkins can rectify and have the same statistics as last season? 19 goals, 13 assists is going to be very, very hard to do. And I think that actually, for me, if he can get anywhere near close to that, then that would be a great year for him. So I'm hoping that actually, if Ollie can get something around 25 goals and assists, the GA, then I think he's having a good year. So, look, let's go back to that then and finally wrap this segment up on Ollie Watkins. Ollie Watkins, recognised by his fellow teammates in the PFA Awards, has now got himself in the Team of the Year, fully deserved, fully recognised. And if he can get, as I said, around 25 GA again, that's going to be a great year for him. So let's go on to the next part then, which is Alex Moreno. Alex Moreno, of course, interesting is all I'm going to say. Interesting. Here it is. Alex Moreno has agreed to go on loan to Nottingham Forest, reported by Fabrizio Romano. And of course, we have the medical booked in for Wednesday. And people, that is the end of Moreno. That is the end of Moreno. And for me, and for a lot of Villa fans, I can't see him ever returning back in that case. And that is something that is really sad. Because when we go back to Moreno, I think that we actually had a lot of hope, a lot of excitement, a lot of expectation from Moreno, and he didn't quite kick on to where he wanted to be. And I think the thing that killed Moreno last year was how good Luca Dean's form was. Now, if we go back to it, and I've got the graph up here to show you, but Moreno basically was limited to his football last year and had to really find his place off the bench to get a look in at Villa. And he was very much second fiddle. Well, it seems that Moreno has now found himself as third choice because Ian Maatson has come in. Luca Dean obviously stays at Aston Villa. And therefore, for me, Moreno has realised that he is Mr. Third Choice. But James has said, I think you'll share more playing time with Drown this year, and that affects Premier League stats in terms of Ollie Watkins. Krim is saying, Moreno's a good player and definitely can do some great things, but is he a top 5 player? Not for me. If we get 6 mil from next year, we'll be happy. And as I said, that was part of the deal. The Moreno deal was also, as I said, that it's an option to buy after. Now, Moreno last year, let's just have a look at his numbers right here, right now. Live and direct. The Premier League, he had 21 appearances in the Premier League, 2 goals, but only played an average of 1,030 minutes. And when you look a little bit deeper, it was this start here that really played him. He wasn't included at all in the first, almost, as you can see, 13 games. In the first 13 games for Aston Villa last season, Moreno didn't play a single minute. Now, he was, of course, hampered with a hamstring injury. He was, of course, hampered with that. But Luca Dean shocked us all. Luca Dean shocked us all by having a season that no one expected. I honestly would have said that Luca Dean surprised many in terms of his performances and basically kept Moreno to second fiddle. So when you look at this and go into Moreno's games last time, it took him to game week 14 to appear off the bench. And as you can see, he only got 16 minutes. But game time became limited with substitute appearances. And it was only until we were cursed with a few injuries that Moreno played his first 90 minutes on the 17th of December, 2023. against Brentford away, and that was when Watkins scored that controversial goal. But Moreno basically only accumulated 5 90-minute games last season. That in itself shows you where Moreno is at. He had this spell over Christmas, as you can see, into the new year, where he played back-to-back 4 games of 90 minutes. And that was, I believe, because Luca Dean was out injured. So when we go to Moreno, he couldn't get that run of form or run of vein in the side. And that essentially was his only good spell until you go back to the end of the season where he's had a few knocks, wasn't included in the final 2 games, played a minute against Brighton, didn't play in the others, and then, as you can see, found himself scratching from the bench and a few starts here and there. And I think that showed his time was numbered. I think that showed his time was numbered. So when we look back at Alex Moreno, last season was basically a write-off. Last season was a no-go. It was basically couldn't start the season, found it hard to get into the side, got in the side over Christmas into New Year, lost his place again, and then tailed off at the end of the season. We only remember Moreno in his first 6 months of when he signed. And if you go back to when Moreno signed all the way in the January window in 2023. And from January to the end of the season in the 23-24 season, he was excellent. However, it wasn't enough. And as I said, that injury at the start, coordinated with Luca Dean's fine form, has found Moreno now dropped down to number 3 left back with Ian Matson coming into the club. So, Nottingham Forest. I always talk about the idea that when you loan a player out to a Premier League side, is it almost a bad mistake? Is it a bad mistake to loan a player of Moreno's credentials to what you would say another Premier League side with an option to buy? In my head and in reality, Moreno for me and Nottingham Forest will not be challenging Aston Villa this season. So that's point number 1. Point number 2, if Moreno goes and has a blinder at Forest, we could potentially get a good fee for Moreno. Moreno is 31 years old. He'll be 32 when he goes on the permanent. And let's be honest, Forest are known for having a bit of cash. I think Forest are the type of team that we can actually steal a few more pennies out of than some other clubs. So it almost guarantees a Moreno sell and deal. And then finally, for me as well, is that actually it does leave Villa with the choice that if they do choose to sell, for example, Lucas Dean, because if Ian Matson, as I believe, will start as the first choice left back, and Luca Dean sees himself as the number 2, then Moreno can seamlessly come back to Villa because it is only an option to buy, and he could come back as the number 2 left back and play for Aston Villa in the season after if Luca Dean moves on. So it's a smart piece of business from me, in my opinion. Forest will not be challenging Aston Villa. Forest will not be anywhere near us, and therefore loaning him out to that is not such as a problem for us. In fact, it's probably a better thing. So I don't know if you agree, but let me know your thoughts on Moreno. Let me know your thoughts on actually, is this the right time to say goodbye to him? And do you, or are you someone who prefers Moreno to Luca Dean? But yeah, Moreno is 31 years old. Hence the reason why I think this is the best time to cash in on him. Guys, by the way, big up to everyone in here. Make sure you're smashing the like button as well, especially if you're watching on replay, and subscribing to the channel. And I'm loving all the comments live tonight. Big up to everyone, Vian, James, Robert, who are all in the chat right now contributing. I really appreciate it. Tots Omega as well. Appreciate it. So let's go on to the final story. As I said, not too much to talk about this, but this one really, really shocked me. This one really, really shocked me. And this is the Iling-Jr. one. Now, I say shocked, but it's about processing the fact that actually we have a player, okay, who we're not quite sure what we're doing with. And that goes the same with Enzo Balanchea. And I'm going to pull up this Iling-Jr. thing now. Now, this comes from Jacob Tanswell. Here it is. Jacob Tanswell has reported this. And he said, Samuel Iling-Jr. is exploring potential loan options ahead of the transfer window deadline. Now, Iling-Jr., let's talk. Let's have real talk here. We got Iling-Jr. as part of the Douglas Luiz transfer with money and cash. And look, I want to say this right now. Is this a worry that we've potentially got 2 players as part of the Douglas Luiz deal who now won't be seen fit to even be part of our squad depth? And that is something that I do want to talk about a little bit more in detail of the Moreno situation. Because when we go back to it, and this is the thing that rival fans and us Villa fans will sit down and question once that transfer window ends is, have we improved on last season? Well, part of me has been convinced and been told that Aston Villa have improved their squad depth. We have improved our squad depth because we brought in players like Onana, Ian Maatsen, who are, for me, players who will be starting in our lineup, with, of course, then Ross Barkley coming into the side. But then we've had the likes of Lewis Dobbin, Enzo Balanchère, and Iling-Jr. coming part of what I would say, and I'm going to label it now, these dodgy deals. We're going to call it the dodgy deals. We're going to call it the PSR deals, whatever label you want to put on it. The transactions and deals that Aston Villa made for those players were to basically find the loopholes to make us safe. But the players that we've ended up bringing in Lewis Dobbin, in Enzo Balanchère, in Samuel Iling-Jr., we've actually been told, basically, you ain't even good enough for our bench. So that is something that concerns me. That is something that concerns me, that actually we're exploring potential loan options ahead of the transfer window. So basically, why then have we gone for players maybe who, in part of these dodgy deals, we're looking to loan out straight away? And then it comes back to, have Aston Villa really improved from where we were last season? And that is the question of depth. And that's where I'm going to leave those questions, because the transfer window isn't ended yet. And if we do sell Diego Carlos, but then we don't get the new player in from Feyenoord, as people said, as Ian has said, Gertrude, and apologies if I butchered that pronunciation. But essentially, are we actually making progressive steps, or are we probably in the same position? Something that I'm going to pause and wait on until the window ends. Enzo Balanchère, do you think he will be joining Iling-Jr. on the loan list, or do you see a place where Enzo starts to find a place on the bench? Remember, neither of those players were featured in the West Ham squad at the weekend. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure, pretty certain that Enzo Balanchère and Iling-Jr. were not in the squad against West Ham. So, sorry, a bit of coughing needed. Throat's drying up a bit. A lot of talking. But I am at once... There's part of me, right? This is how my head's working. I keep reading this and going, Iling-Jr., go let him loan out. He's a young player. He's a physical player. If Iling-Jr. can get top-flight football, because remember, he's just come from Juventus and Serie A. He's had a debut breakthrough season. Hasn't probably been exposed to much minutes. I think it was like 19 games he played for Juve, bit part games. But actually, overall, his minutes are lacking in the tank. Whereas Enzo Balanchère played in Serie A for a top side and was able to play week in, week out. So, look, Enzo, for me, maybe doesn't need the loan and could stay around. But Iling-Jr., for me, is someone that absolutely could be loaned out. So I want to know your thoughts on those two players. Enzo Balanchère, Samuel Iling-Jr., do you think it's important that we loan them out? Would you like to see one stay? And have they got a future at Aston Villa? I'm going to come to some of the comments here because you're all making some really good comments here. Big up to AVFC 1982. Ryan C said, the loan doesn't seem great for Moreno unless it's an obligation to buy. There's an option to buy. It didn't say obligation, Ryan, but that did say an option to buy Moreno. Kramer said, unfortunate left wing. We have Buendia, Ramsey, and Rodgers as options. Iling-Jr. couldn't get a place on the bench, and he hasn't left Juve not to be in the squad. He needs minutes. Agree on that. He'll either come back from there and get an opportunity, be a long-term player, or make us good money. I think the money point is exactly right. The other side of it as well, is this another Jadon Philogene situation? Is this another Jadon Philogene situation where we actually look at Iling-Jr., we loan him out, then we sell him, and then we go, sugar, we shouldn't have actually sold you. Please come back, and we re-sign him. That is where I am going to start to call Villa the buyback merchants. We are the buyback merchants. We seem to find a way to buy back players who we risk on selling with business. But yeah, James said, I'll see Iling-Jr. don't be loaned out this season and sold next summer. We have no room for either. Agree. Ryan said, Iling-Jr. needs minutes, but he's going to be a player. A loan to January would be good to settle him. That's a good point as well. Ryan, though, thinks that Enzo stays, especially with Kamara not back. But then again, I think Ross Barkley is ahead of Enzo in the pecking order. I really do. I think Ross Barkley is going to be the next one in that double pivot. I think it goes Onana, Tielemans, Ross Barkley, then Enzo in the double pivot. John McGinn is your last option in there, but I don't see it. Really sorry, throat's actually quite dry today. I think it's pronounced Gertrude. Thank you, James. Iling-Jr, Middlesbrough. We do have good links with them. Spicy Prices in the house. There's a loan for Iling-Jr, sure, but I'd very much like Chair to stay. I love it. Kenem says Enzo holds the ball up good and passes are great. Yes, Kenem, he is a very steady player indeed. You raise a very good point there. And big up to VJ as well. So, look, overall for me, Villa's transfer window is just, it's going to be a really interesting finale for me. Will we sell players like Diego Carlos? Even I'm going to throw his name out there again, Matty Cash. I don't think so. But are we going to look to sell? If we're going to look to sell, are we looking to bring in one or two? And I think some of these fringe players will be loaned out. The squad for me at West Ham was almost there. If you looked at our bench against West Ham, if you looked up, in fact, I'm going to quickly try and find it now. I'm going to quickly read out the bench against West Ham, just to remind ourselves where the squad depth is and players that still need to come in. So our bench against West Ham was the following. It was Ramsey, Duran, Matson, Iling-Jr, and Najolkovic, who all came on, by the way. Unused was Gauchi, the keeper, Diego Carlos, Ross Barkley, and Emi Buendia. So Ross Barkley, Emi Buendia, and Diego Carlos were the unused subs. We also didn't have the following in the squad. Kamara, Tyrone Mings, Iling-Jr, Enzo Barrenechea. That is 4 other players to go into that squad. So all of a sudden, Villa's squad depth, Villa's squad depth starting to look tasty. And if we get in one more, and this is what I'm saying, chat, one more diamond, one more key name, one more sparkle, I actually think we have a very good squad. And therefore, one of Iling-Jr could probably go out on loan. But I love the fact we only have to go back to the rationale and reasoning that Jacob Ramsey, John Duran, Ian Matson, Iling-Jr, and Najolkovic all came off the bench against West Ham and made a bloody difference. And that is where we're at. Because squad depth is key. If Iling-Jr can't even get a sniff on the bench, loan him out. It's the reason we've got rid of Cam Archer. It's the reason why Kane Kessler-Hayden's been shipped out again. And it's probably the reason why Swinkles, Bagard will probably go as well. So, but I also think, by the way, in terms of those 2 centre-halves, it all depends on Diego Carlos. So, yeah, we do need a strong bench, Kenem, of 25 players. And I think that is absolutely spot on with that. We have, I didn't even mention Dendoncker. I didn't even mention Dendoncker in that list as well, of players not included. So that's actually poor for me. But yeah, I forgot Dendoncker. So it's all pretty crazy. It's all pretty wild. And we freaking love it. And big up to everyone in here. Keep smashing the like button for me, people, as well. So yeah, I'm excited about that. But as I said, that story there, it really caught my eye from Jacob Tanswell. Iling-Jr is exploring potential loan options ahead of transfer window deadline. Moreno going to Nottingham Forest does not worry me. It does not scare me. And I think it makes perfect sense. I'm happy with Luca Dean at left back with Ian Matson. I don't think we need to worry there. And for me, business is doing good. And we have to remember that the most important business is the business that happens on the pitch. It's the business that makes us tick. It's the business that makes us happy as Villa fans. Is getting results after results. And yeah, we do keep forgetting about the Dendoncker. Indeed. So yeah, he is there. Big up to Curves. You said hit the like button immediately. Absolutely. And big up to you, Curve. Saturday, we're going to be showing down for Arsenal on the weekend as well, very, very soon. Big up to Kenem, the very man, the legend that is Kenem. Loving your support as always, Kenem. Spicy forgets about Dendoncker like I do. Absolutely there. And big up as well to the legend, the super mod that is Vamos, VJ, Vamos, VJ, Vamos, Vamos. Big up to the VV. But listen, it's quite funny when you think that our cast offs are worth more than the Brum starting 11, don't, mate? Don't, because that will live rent-free in a lot of people's head, British Mick. But it is true. It is true. And I love the squad depth. I'm loving what we're producing, and it's going to be really exciting. So, big up to everyone who's tuning in today. 3 stories to talk about tonight. Ollie Watkins, Team of the Year, recognised by his fellow professional players, got in as the only Villa player with just City and Arsenal and a Liverpool player within that team. Just shows the credit and how well Ollie Watkins has done. Moreno to Forest. done basically loan with an option to buy, medical booked in tomorrow. And then, of course, as we've been talking about, Iling-Jr. looking to explore a loan move. Exciting times, chat. Just to let you all know, I was at Villa Park today. We went to Villa Park, my partner Heidi and I went to Villa Park, and we went and got the new shirts. In fact, it's just here. I've got the new shirt, people. I've got the new shirt. And I even had to go and do this as well. Oh boy. Oh boy. Isn't that a beautiful thing? I've got the Pro Fit one. So I spent the amount. I've got the Pro Fit. I went with the Real Fit, the team worn jersey. It is absolutely sexy. I cannot wait to wear this on Saturday on the watch along. Oh, it's a beauty. It's a thing of beauty. And yeah, the new revamp of the club shop is absolutely impressive. Villa Park, by the way, was very busy in and around it. It had lots of construction work being done, lots of changes. Even the club crest was being changed on the stadium when we were looking at it. It was all fantastic and brilliant. And I'm excited for Saturday. I really am. Do you know what? There's part of me who wishes I was actually going to the game now. There is part of me who wishes I was going to the game. But a watch along with you guys is absolutely going to be unbelievable. No name and number on the back, though. And I was toying with it. I nearly got Rodgers. I nearly got Morgan Rodgers on the back. But I think the away shirt, I'm going to get a name on that. I actually am going to get the away shirt with the name on it. So I'm really excited for this. So that was a big piece of news on that. That we've got the new shirt for the weekend. I'm so excited. We will also be doing a little catch up with our friend Deji. Oh, Mr. Deji. Deji. We will be catching up with our fellow Spurs friend after his team had the dustiest second half performances against a very dusty Leicester City side. And let's not beat around the bush. That team on paper ain't very good. Yet they found a way to find a bit of form, find a bit of fight against a Spurs side who honestly capitulate in the second half. So look, for me, we need to catch up with Deji. That's going to be on Thursday. I want to try and hype up the Arsenal game as much as possible because I've got a lot of Arsenal friends. I've got a lot of Arsenal non-believers as well, should I say? People who and Arsenal and us have had a little bit of a run-in, haven't we? We're 2 out of 2 against Arsenal, and we're looking to make it 3 out of 3. So cannot wait. And you know that I'll be doing the watch along. I'll be bringing the vibe. So I'd love to see as many of you there on Saturday for that. But Thursday is the next time we'll be going. I want to catch up on some of these comments as well. I'll be in a den of inequity on Saturday. It's going to be heavy. I love it. My man Curve, big supporter of Aston Villa from the Stands channel, but he's also a big gooner as well. And he's going to be torn. He's going to be torn on that one, I'm sure. Big up to Dono. Dino says, if we loan in Junior, we won't see him again. Moreno's injured prone, but has experience. We won't ever see Lewis Dobbin, Roy Wilson, and Ross Barkley get tired of injuries. Listen, we won't see those players again, but that's fine because they're not up to the quality of where we need to be. And finally, big up James Meakin, who said his shirt has arrived yesterday. Thank you, James. Appreciate it. I am really crap at Instagram. I'll be honest, I rarely go on Instagram. I haven't really got anything set up in it. So I apologize that if you have messaged me on there to say it's arrived, that I've missed it. But it looks like you've told me it has, because that's how we communicated. So, James, I hope Clay loves it, your son. And anyone who's wondering why I've sent James a Villa shirt, it's because he won the members competition and he won it and I won a shirt from it. And do you know how James won the members competition? He was just a member. It's as easy as that. He was a member. He didn't have to predict anything, didn't have to guess anything, didn't have to enter anything. He was just a member. And I spun the wheel and the name landed on James Meakin and he's won himself a Villa shirt. So there we go. But the kits are lush. The club shop's looking great. And we cannot wait as well. Kerr saying big up to Heidi. Absolutely. And British Smith is saying, Deji has got a reason. I've already heard 2 of it. Listen, I've done some note taking. And what I mean by note taking is Deji jumped on the football terrace, which is Terry Flew as a show. You probably know that show. And he jumped on another show. And I just had to hear some of the excuses because I'm going to be holding him accountable. Because you've got to remember, before a ball was kicked, Deji was talking of chest. A ball was then kicked and Deji has lost chest. And that is where we are at with that. So, guys, you're absolute legends. I really appreciate it. I cannot wait for this week. I'm really, really excited to play Arsenal. I don't know why. We could end up losing really badly. We could end up getting them, you know, brought back down to reality. Or we could have a little cheeky smile on our face and go, Arteta, Unai's got your number, lad. So, yeah, I cannot wait for it. But big up to everyone. We're going to wrap this show up. Make sure you smash the like button on the way out. Big up to British Mitt, to VJ, to Curve, to Canem, to Spicy, to Dino, to James, to everyone else who's been in the chat, Krim, Ian, Ryan C, James Regan. There's been some great comments in here today. I always love these little segments. And we'll be back on Thursday, 100%. And it's time to get dusty with Deji. I'll see you all later. Fusion's back in the house as well. I've got a message you, Fusion. Please tell me you've got your Twitter back activated. This guy is still the best genius creator on graphics I've ever known. He is my graphic king. He is the editor behind the scenes. Big up to Fusion. Hope you're well. And cannot wait for it. Cannot wait for it. And let's win this game and send a statement to the rest of the league. I'm leaving you out of here. Big up, guys. Up the Villa. Roll on Saturday. Ta-da.